heck is going on here? Okay. Apparently, I managed to start the stream. Didn't realize it. Anyway, a little quick one here, just an idea that I find really useful in thinking about the world, my place in it, all that sort of thing, which is the coin flipping tournament. And it's just basically this idea. If you flip a coin, the odds that you flip heads versus tails are 50-50, right? There are two outcomes, even chance of each outcome. If you calculate the odds that you would flip a coin 10 times in a row and it would come up 10 heads in a row, that's 1 in 1,024. It's 1 in 2 to the 10th. So that's one thing. Now let's look at a very similar but slightly different situation. What about if you and your friend were to have a contest where you called coin flips, right? What are your odds of winning a called coin flip? You're sitting there, your friend's sitting there, and you just alternate, one person calls and the next person calls. The odds that you win in any given trial are the same, 50%. The same as for flipping heads, right? And the odds that you will win 10 times in a row is the same as the odds that you will you would flip a coin and you would get 10 heads in a row. It's 1 in 1,024. But there's a slight difference here because we can take this head-to-head structure and we can build something larger out of it, right? So we could organize a coin flipping tournament, right? Where we start with 1,024 entrants, head-to-head, right? Just single elimination bracket, and at the end of that, we would have a winner, and that winner would have won 10 coin flips in a row, right? Now, what's interesting about that is if you got those same 1,000 people and had each of them just flip a coin 10 times, you wouldn't be guaranteed that anybody got 10 heads in a row. But because of the structure of the tournament format, you can guarantee that the same pool of people will produce one person who has won 10 coin flips in a row. Right? So these, on first glance, similar situations actually have this difference in the sorts of structures that you can build from them and the sorts of outcomes that you can guarantee will arise from them. So why is that important? Because if you look carefully at the world, there are a lot of coin flipping tournaments going on. So the significance of the coin flipping tournament is that somebody wins because of the structure of the thing, not because of anything intrinsic about them. If you ran your coin flipping tournament over and over and over again and the same people were winning, you'd be very surprised. Something would be amiss, right? Whereas if you ran a chess tournament over and over and over again and the same people were winning, well, you would expect that because chess is a game of skill, right? When you look at the world, there's a lot of opportunities to mistake coin flipping tournaments for chess tournaments, where you have a situation where people, because of a structure, are contending for a very limited role, but somebody will get that role no matter what. And it actually may not be the case that the people who get it are intrinsically different from the people who didn't. And you see this all the time with, for example, if you look at sort of self-made wealthy people, they tend to be people who have worked very hard. And if you listen to them speak then about their view of the world, it's, well, I worked very hard and I earned what I have, right? So other people should just work as hard as I did. And what they don't realize is that successes are celebrated and failures are sort of swept under the rug. So all of the people who worked just as hard and were just as talented but didn't get the breaks, didn't end up the winner of the coin flipping tournament, nobody's talking about them. And so people can very often have a distorted view of how the outcomes of things in the world are determined because they look at their history and they're oblivious to all of the places where purely chance occurrences separated them from somebody who became unsuccessful. So they look back on their unmitigated string of success and they conclude something's great about me. But you know, if we keep in mind the coin flipping tournament, we know that if you build the right structure, there will be somebody who won 10 coin flips in a row. And that person isn't justified in concluding that anything is different about them. So, how does that relate to being a happy human being? Um, Understanding that very often the structures that we find ourselves placed in by our societies will produce winners and losers because of their structure, not because of anything about the people involved in that structure. And understanding that sometimes you're going to be the loser. And in fact, if you're dealing with the closer it is to a true coin flipping tournament, the more losers there are for every winner, right? So your chances are very often in your life you're going to be in a situation where somebody had to win and a bunch of people had to lose, and that doesn't actually mean anything about you in particular. It doesn't mean anything about the people who won in particular. It means everything about the structures that both of you were placed into. And so recognizing that, you can go, hey, I can do all the right things and still lose. There's a great episode of Star Trek The Next Generation that contains that quote delivered by Patrick Stewart. That stuck with me for a long time, well before I knew what the heck a coin flipping tournament was. But opening the door to that possibility means that losing doesn't have to be nearly so painful as we are often conditioned to experience it. That sometimes you're just going to lose, and you're just going to lose because somebody had to. And that shouldn't be something that dissuades you from pursuing whatever it is you think is going to fulfill you in the future. If this is a course where it's like, actually getting the W in this situation is worth the cost of getting the L quite often, then you can keep at it, just knowing that, hey, this really isn't about anything intrinsic about me. It's about the structures that I'm choosing to participate in. And on the flip side of that, if you recognize that sort of structure, you might go, is this really something I need to participate in? Is this really going to make me happy? Or should I look for a structure that I can participate in that either has a more balanced sort of tally of forced winners and forced losers, or doesn't have either of those at all? Something that is either, truly based on the effort that I'm putting in, the skills that I'm bringing to bear, or something that just doesn't produce losers. Looking for win-win situations in the world, always a good attitude of mind to have, just something to be on the lookout for. So those are some ideas about the coin flipping tournament and how it can help you to understand the experiences you're having in your life. And just understanding that, again, the asymmetries of the universe often produce these sorts of situations where there's more ways to be wrong than right. There's more ways to be a loser than a winner. And so if a situation has chance involved, then you got to expect to end up on the wrong side of that equation more often than not. So looking for situations that don't have structures that force a large proportion of bad outcomes for every good outcome, it's going to be a little bit of a better way to structure your life if you're trying to be a happy human being. I gotta go teach math, so that's it. Catch y'all later.